Not quite a comedy and not quite a fantasy, but it does manage to stay interesting despite being long as smeg. A truly disturbing and well-written look at a totalitarian regime which has an absolutely perfect ending. Closer to what the movies should have been, it's just a shame that there's not much gun porn. Brilliantly written with some great, occasionally fucked up imagery. A very well written depiction of Space Marines with some mind-blowing revelations about the Horus Heresy. Arguably France's greatest contribution to world culture, Voltaire. Pah! Each volume is a self-contained joy that takes itself less seriously than a clown on laughing gas. Without a word of a lie, these are some of the funniest comic books ever. Granted, the recent few haven't quite been classics, but they nevertheless provide entertainment. Asterix and the Big Fight, Asterix the Legionnaire, Asterix and Cleopatra, such a pretty nose, and Obelix and Co. are some of my personal favourites. Oh, and incidentally, the movie Asterix and Obelix Mission Cleopatra. In French, with the subtitles, it is one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. A great slice of historical action and adventure from the master, although some parts do feel rushed. A wonderful collection of weird book titles and strange author names, most of which will appeal to the 7-year-old in us all. 2 great novels, brought down by a shit short story. Great sequel with some entertaining interchapter bickering. Not bad, but it does take an age to do very little, and the ending on reflection is a bit cheap. A ton of amusing rabbit self-terminations, although the soppy part of me weeps that they have so little to live for. Not much to say except that it is quite interesting. Entertaining and well written with a couple of film references dotted throughout. More explorations of future societies, but with an interesting story and less exposition than normal. Often funny, sometimes poignant, and always gives me the urge to play Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri. Grim sci-fi with a wonderfully sarcastic and consistently hilarious tone, brutal action, and the greatest gun in history. As before, but with bigger explosions, more sex, and proof that Sven does in fact have a heart. If you want some individual quick reviews of the Discworld series, I suggest looking elsewhere on my channel. As for the series itself, they are some of my favourite novels. They're not all rip-roaringly hilarious, but most do have some moments of pure hilarity. The closest to a Joker page is Going Postal, although even that does have something of a dark edge to it. I do have a soft spot for the ever put upon Ankh-Morpork City Watch, with The Fifth Elephant and Night Watch being personal favourites. I just hope that Pratchett gets around to doing something interesting with Carrot and Angua before... well, just before. A collection of stunning paintings and sketches by Paul Kidby, coupled with some fascinating character musings from Terry Pratchett. An incredible slice of well-written, well-thought-out and utterly epic sci-fi. I always suspected they were up to no good. An absolutely astounding space naval duology. It's a crying shame that there weren't more in this series. A stunning example of what all 40k fiction should aspire to. A hilarious reminder to be ever vigilant against the forces of the fail. Fascinating and occasionally funny. The Gaunt's Ghost novels do a pretty good job of giving a face and a voice to the underappreciated cannon fodder that comprises the Imperial Guard. The earlier novels in the series also do a very good job of balancing characters and action. A little obvious and cliched in places, but otherwise it is an awesome, beautifully drawn story that reminded me that Boston makes me feel good. One of the most perfect combinations of laugh-out-loud humour and genuinely dark moments you're ever likely to read. Great introduction to the Horus Heresy, presenting a glimpse of what the Imperium should have been. A good continuation of the heresy, but I wasn't particularly convinced by the fall of Horus. Holy shit! More excellence from the early days of the heresy, but the ending was painfully obvious. A genuinely hilarious look at an all-too-possible scenario. A little corny, a little funny, and very entertaining. Damn, do I have some catching up to do. Stunningly imaginative and epic, but the detail and rambling won't be for everyone. Great alternate universe tale with a few characters you can really hate. Fun slice of sci-fi goodness that offers a different take on the characters that we all know and love. Not much to say, except this is more Red Dwarf goodness. Well written, quite funny, with a surprisingly dark turn near the end, but it does seem to take forever to get there. A finely written quintet of novels that tell the wonderful beginning of Sharpe's rise. If I have one critique, it's that Sharpe ending up in the middle of the Battle of Trafalgar is just a tad too convenient. They are all entertaining and well written, with some, most notably the Royal Marine featuring Sharpe's Siege, far outstripping their TV counterparts. There are many fine moments, and the Siege of Battlehearth is a hell of a highlight. However, only Sharpe and Harper ever seem to have much personality, which makes it hard to care too much when the fortunes of war come knocking. They are all well written, fairly interesting, with Sharpe's Havoc having some decent humour. But the problem is there's no hero peril. We know Sharpe survives, this was written long after Sharpe's Devil, so he has something of a narrative shield. Sadly, this does make them a little dull. Great novel covering Sharpe's eventful retirement and touches upon one of the greatest what-ifs in history. One-panel cartoons with humour that ranges from cruel and hilarious to sick and unfunny. There are more than enough funnies to carry each collection, but the unfunny can really kill the mood. Fun, interesting and quite well translated. A good collection of golfing Snoopy cartoons for reading on dark and stormy nights. A collection of 2 decent novels and 1 great one, but Counter does need to trust his audience more. Fun, fast-paced and generally wonderful, as well as giving a great introduction to the Space Marines. Excellent sequel that keeps the focus on the characters more so than the action. More Space Wolf goodness that features plenty of Sven. Shows definitively why Space Wolves are better than the Ultra Smurfs, as well as taking a fascinating look at life on Holy Terror itself. Pisses on William King's work, as well as failing to do justice to an interesting premise. Fascinating and often beautiful look at the design process behind the look of Star Trek. Nerdy as all hell, so naturally I love it. A nice idea that's reasonably implemented, but a few moments feel like bad fan fiction. Makes good use of a very interesting idea and is pretty good to read. Has some good moments for anyone that remembers Mirror Mirror, but is a definite step down from Avenger. The first 2 tell a good, entertaining, but somewhat predictable tale. The third is too much of a StarCraft recap, and it fails to be satisfying on almost any level. Shockingly not as good as the film, yet an interesting but exposition-laden look at a militant future society. The only version of the Bible that's worth reading. Historically fascinating as they cover events that were missed during history at school. Although the action is at times very visceral, none are particularly well written, although they all do feature some very good moments. A wonderful potted history of one of the funniest radio shows in history. A fascinating look at an extraplanetary human society coupled with a tale of revolution, but Christ is it exposition happy. Well written and funny with a central character that you just want to slap. A great concept done well and damn funny to boot, but it does end a little abruptly. Some absolutely hilarious adventures in, for want of a better term, a Japanese interpretation of Western fantasy. Ready? Set? Strip! A poorly written novel that tries and fails at sci-fi epicness whilst ignoring giant robot war. Ultimate is a bit of a misnomer given the vast amount of information on the internet, but it is a great book for trans fans. An awesome book full of Transformers biographies. A massive compilation of trivia, some fascinating, some dull, some wrong, but all great Kazi reading. 3 decent novels plus a decent short story make for a decent read. A decent novel with some truly excellent moments and 1 unintentionally funny one. A good concept and quite funny, but a fair few of the gags are wordplay jokes with British regional accents. Astonishing graphic novel which posits a very pertinent question at the end.